book opens in 1853 when the American gunmaker, Colonel Samuel Colt, establishes a factory on the bank of the Thames in Pimlico, near to where I'm standing now. Bessborough Place was the address of his factory. It was located just this way, where there are now a bunch of modern flats. The site on the banks of the Thames had several appealing factors in it for Colonel Colt. The river allowed the easy transport of the materials he'd need to make his guns. The nearby slums in Westminster would supply a ready source of labour for his machines. And perhaps most importantly, it was conveniently located near to Westminster and Millbank, the seat of government. The factory is established and it starts to gather in employees from the city and the city around it. And one of the people that is employed is an ambitious young man called Edward Lowry, who's employed as Colt's personal secretary. And Lowry's come from a trading house in the city, and he sees Colt as his big chance for fortune, for accomplishment and for riches. But he gets significantly more than he bargained for at the Colt company, including an ill-advised affair with a woman from the factory floor, which makes him aware of sinister events that are occurring in the lower reaches of the factory. Colt revolvers were used widely during the Crimean campaign, and for a time were even standard army issue. And this caught my attention because to me the Colt revolver seemed like the gun of the Wild West. It seemed a very American thing. And the notion that these were being used in the Crimea seemed interesting. And then I found out that there was actually a factory that made them in London. It was opened with great fanfare in 1853, but then it closed down for good in 1856. And this was a major undertaking, and Colt had won the custom of the British government, so I find myself wondering why the factory had only lasted for 3 years. I was also interested in the figure of Colonel Colt himself, who was a very kind of blunt, brash, charismatic, but very highly eccentric man. He was in many ways a prototype of the international arms dealer. One thing that I definitely had to add was a sense of conflict about the arms trade itself, about the consequences of selling deadly weapons on an epic scale. And this is something you do not get from Colt himself. He is entirely set in his views on the armaments industry and entirely unapologetic about what he does. With regards to the gunmaker's gift, the major element that had to be added was the human level to the story. The personal conflicts, the loves and the loss, you know, the moments of struggle and conflict had to be added. And as well as all of this, central to the story is a doomed romance between the Colonel's secretary and a woman.